Smell that. You know that smell. Smoke and wood and meat cooking low and slow somewhere down the street. Maybe from a backyard you walked past as a kid. Maybe from your grandfather's yard on a Saturday morning when the pit had been burning since before you woke up. That smell is American barbecue, and the people who invented it, the people who built every technique, every sauce, every method behind it, most of their names you've never heard. This is 25 of their secrets, and the story of how they lost credit for all of it. Before we get into the list, one thing you need to know. The word pitmaster was first printed in 1939. But historians trace the role back to American slavery, where enslaved men oversaw the cooking of meat at large plantation gatherings, directing younger workers and controlling the fire through the night. They didn't choose that work, but they mastered it, and the mastery was theirs. Well into the 20th century, there was a widespread belief across the South, among white Southerners, that black people made the best barbecue. That belief didn't come from nowhere. It came from 200 years of watching. What happened after that is what this video is about. Secret 1. They built the pit by hand, and the shape was everything. No store-bought smoker, no gas. A hole in the ground, brick-lined, with dimensions calculated by experience. Not a manual. Too wide and the heat distributed wrong. Too shallow and you couldn't control the burn. The pit itself was an instrument, and the pitmaster built it knowing exactly what he needed from it. Secret 2. The wood was chosen like an ingredient, not a fuel. Hickory for pork, oak for beef, pecan for chicken, applewood for a sweeter finish. This wasn't preference. It was science understood through practice. Each wood burned at a different temperature, released different compounds into the smoke, and changed the flavor of the meat in specific ways. Your grandfather didn't read this in a book. He learned it by standing next to someone who already knew. Secret 3. They read the smoke color, and it told them everything. White smoke meant wet wood or low temperature. Blue smoke, thin, barely visible blue smoke, was what they were after. That was the sign of clean combustion, the right heat, the right moisture. A pitmaster who could read smoke could walk up to a pit that had been burning for 3 hours and tell you in 30 seconds whether the meat was going to be right. Secret 4. They tested heat with their hand, not a thermometer. Hold your hand 6 inches over the pit. Count seconds until you have to pull it away. 2 seconds, too hot. 8 seconds, too cool. 5 or 6, right. This method, passed down through generations, is now called the hand test in barbecue competitions. The people who invented it never saw a competition. Secret 5. The mop sauce was applied on a schedule, never random, every 45 minutes to an hour. Not more. Opening the pit too often dropped the temperature. Not less. The meat dried out. The mop was thin, acidic, layered. Vinegar, pepper, a little fat. Applied with a literal mop. A bundle of rags on a stick. This is where the name came from. The technique is now called mopping in every barbecue cookbook written by someone else. Secret 6. Mustard was used as a binder, not a condiment. A thin layer of mustard rubbed over the meat before the dry rub was applied. It helped the rub adhere, held moisture, and disappeared into the crust during cooking. You wouldn't taste mustard in the finished product. You'd just taste a bark that was deeper, more consistent, more complex. Food historians trace this technique directly to African and Caribbean cooking traditions. Secret 7. The rub had no recipe. It had a ratio: salt, black pepper, red pepper, sometimes sugar, sometimes garlic. The proportions lived in the pitmaster's hands. A palmful of this, 2 fingers of that. It was adjusted by feel, by the cut of meat, by the weather that day. 2 pitmasters using the same ingredients made different barbecue. That was the point. Secret 8. Whole hog was cooked cavity side down first. Not every pitmaster, but the whole hog tradition of the Carolinas, documented as one of the oldest continuous barbecue traditions in America, started meat side up, cavity down. This protected the exposed meat from direct heat in the early hours, let the fat in the cavity baste the meat from inside, and produced a finished hog that was moist throughout, not just on the outside. Secret 9. The bark was built in layers, not all at once. The crust on properly cooked barbecue, the bark, develops from multiple passes of smoke, heat, and moisture over hours. Pitmasters knew to let the bark set before mopping again. Too early and you washed it off. Too late and you sealed the outside before the inside was done. The timing was felt, not timed. Secret 10. Fat was rendered slowly, and it was the basting agent. At the right temperature, around 225 to 250 degrees, fat doesn't drip off. It renders slowly into the meat, moving through the fibers, carrying smoke flavor with it. Too hot and the fat dripped into the fire, caused flare-ups and produced acrid smoke. The entire low and slow method exists to keep this process working correctly. This wasn't discovered by a food scientist. It was discovered by men cooking overnight in backyards in Alabama and Georgia and the Carolinas. Secret 11. Vinegar and pepper was the original sauce, and it was acid-based for a reason. Eastern North Carolina sauce, vinegar, red pepper, salt, sometimes a little sugar. No tomato, no sweetness. The acidity cut through fat, added brightness, and acted as a mild preservative, important when you were serving meat outdoors in summer heat. Food historians trace the flavor profile, sharp, spicy, acidic, directly to West African culinary tradition. The people who invented it didn't write it down. Their employers got the credit. Secret 12. They cooked through the night, and sleep was not part of the job. A whole hog takes 12 to 18 hours. Ribs take 5 to 6. Brisket, done right, takes 12 to 16. In the 1960s South, a Saturday barbecue meant the pitmaster started Friday night. He tended that fire through the dark, adjusted the temperature by feel, and had food ready by noon the next day. There was no break. There was no overtime. There was the pit, and there was the responsibility. Secret 13. The pit temperature dropped at 3 in the morning, and they knew it. Outside air temperature falls in the early hours before dawn. A pit that was holding 240 degrees at midnight might drop to 210 by 3 a.m. if the fire wasn't managed. Experienced pitmasters knew this and planned for it, adding wood before the drop, banking the coals differently on cold nights. This knowledge came from repetition, from having stood at that pit hundreds of times. Secret 14. Chicken was cooked hot and fast, not low and slow. Everything the pitmaster knew about temperature control applied differently to chicken. Low and slow renders fat beautifully in pork. In chicken, it produces rubbery skin and dries out the breast. Pitmasters cook chicken over higher heat, 325 to 375 degrees, with the skin taking direct heat, fat rendering quickly, the inside staying moist. Two different meats, two completely different techniques, one pitmaster who knew both. Secret 15. The sauce went on at the end, never at the beginning. Sugar burns. Any sauce with molasses, brown sugar, or honey applied early in the cook would char before the meat was done. It would turn bitter and black on the outside while the inside was still raw. Pitmasters applied sauce in the final 15 to 30 minutes, just long enough for it to set into a glaze without burning. Every barbecue cookbook explains this now. None of them explain who figured it out first. Secret 16. Drippings were collected and used in the sauce. The fat and juices that came off the meat during the cook were collected, skimmed, and added back into the basting sauce. This meant the sauce evolved over the course of the cook, absorbing the flavor of the specific meat being cooked, becoming a part of that specific barbecue in a way that a pre-made bottled sauce never could. This technique produced barbecue that was, by definition, irreproducible. You could use the same recipe and never make exactly the same thing twice. Secret 17. Burnt ends were not a menu item. They were the pitmaster's reward. The point end of a brisket, cooked through the full cook, developed a concentrated caramelized crust that was too intense to serve as a main dish. Pitmasters cut those off and set them aside, for themselves, for the crew, for the people who knew to ask. Henry Perry, called the father of Kansas City barbecue, ran his operation on 19th Street for decades. Arthur Bryant, who took over the tradition, made Kansas City barbecue nationally known. The burnt ends, now a luxury item on restaurant menus, started as scraps claimed by the people doing the work. Secret 18. They smoked sausage and fish, not just pork. Outside of the competition circuit, black pitmasters smoked everything. Catfish, mullet, sausage made from scraps, venison, goat. The The techniques that work for pork work for any protein at the right temperature and time. Barbecue competitions in America focused on pork and brisket, the proteins that were most commercially valuable. The broader tradition was always wider than that. Secret 19. They used cast iron on the pit, not just in the kitchen. A cast iron skillet or Dutch oven set directly in the coals or on the grate alongside the meat served as a built-in side dish cooker. Beans slow cooked in the smoke. Cornbread baked in a covered skillet. The heat that was already being generated, already paid for in wood and time, was never wasted. Every BTU was doing something. Secret 20. The fire was started with hardwood, not lighter fluid. Lighter fluid leaves a chemical residue in the first 10 to 15 minutes of burning. In a short cook, it mostly burns off. In a 12-hour smoke, it doesn't matter. It's long gone. But the principle mattered to these pitmasters. Start the fire right, with real hardwood or charcoal. Let it ash over before the meat goes on. And the smoke that touches the food is clean from the first minute. This is now called clean fire in competition circles. It was just called doing it right in the 1960s South. Secret 21. Resting the meat was non-negotiable. After the cook, meat rested, wrapped in butcher paper or newspaper, held in a cooler or a warm oven, for at least 30 minutes, often longer. During this time, the internal juices redistributed, the fibers relaxed. The crust softened slightly on the outside while holding its structure. Cut into a brisket straight off the pit and the juice runs out onto the board. Rest it first and it stays in the meat. This is basic food science. It was practical knowledge long before food science had a name for it. Secret 22. They knew every pig was different and adjusted. A 200-pound hog cooked differently than a 180-pound hog. A pig that had been raised on corn had different fat composition than one raised on scraps. Older hogs had more connective tissue and needed longer. Younger animals cooked faster but had less flavor. Pitmasters who had cooked hundreds of animals learned to read the meat before it went on the pit and adjust the process accordingly. This isn't taught, it's accumulated. Secret 23. The community gathered around the pit, and that was part of the design. A barbecue in a black community in the 1960s South was not just food, it was the social architecture of the neighborhood. The pit took 12 hours. People came by through the day. Children played. Men talked. Older people sat. The food was the reason, but the pit was the gathering point. Pitmasters understood this. They cooked for this. The 12-hour process wasn't just about the meat. It was about the time it took everyone to come together. Secret 24. The recipes were never written, they were demonstrated. There are almost no written records of how these pitmasters cooked, not because the knowledge wasn't worth recording, because the knowledge was never meant to be recorded. It was meant to be transmitted person to person, hand to hand, fire to fire. You learned by standing next to someone and watching, then by doing it yourself with them watching, then by doing it alone, then by teaching someone else. The lack of documentation is not an absence of knowledge. It is a different system of preserving it. Secret 25. They knew who invented this, even when nobody else acknowledged it. The men and women who stood at these pits in the 1960s South knew the history of what they were doing. They knew it came from their grandparents, from their grandparents' grandparents, from people who had cooked under forced labor for plantation owners, who took credit for the food and the reputation, while the cooks' names were never written down. They knew. They always knew. And they kept cooking anyway, because the food was theirs, the knowledge was theirs. And no matter whose name went on the restaurant, no matter whose face was on the competition trophy, no matter who got the cookbook deal, that pit and what came off it belonged to them. There's a pitmaster named Henry Perry who started cooking barbecue on the streets of Kansas City around 1908. He is documented as the founder of Kansas City barbecue. He trained Arthur Bryant. Arthur Bryant trained the next generation. That lineage, black, direct, traceable, produced one of the most celebrated barbecue traditions in the country. Henry Perry doesn't have a museum. His name isn't on a national holiday. Most people watching this video have never heard of him. But if you've ever eaten Kansas City barbecue, you've eaten his recipe. That's the story of black barbecue in America. The food survived. The credit didn't always follow. Now it's time for that to change. If your grandfather or grandmother ran a pit, or if you grew up around someone who did, drop what they were known for in the comments. A technique, a sauce, a secret they never told anyone outside the family. Let's build the record they never got.